I'm not like other girls, except for more nights than others. I spend awake laying in bed wondering if what I'm doing is worth it and whether I'm ever going to make it or whether I should just sack it all in. I have a fringe right now and I'm self-conscious about it, so don't fucking speak about my fringe. Something that plagues me more than most things is surely not everyone can, right? Not everyone is going to succeed at every single thing that they do. And then that begs the question, okay, so which one of those people am I? Am I the person who is going to succeed and have the success story and get everything she ever wants? Or am I the type of person that you don't see, the stories that you don't see, the person who tries and doesn't work? Because that happens too.
Some people have success with it. You see the very small percentage of people who have success with it on social media. You don't see the hundreds of millions of people who have their fucking dreams destroyed. There's so many more people who fail when they just try to take a shot in the dark than succeed. You only hear about the successes, but trust me, that is just a little tip of the iceberg of like the sticking out of the water. It's like this. And the amount of people under it that had the opposite experience, don't fall into the delusion. Trust me.
Whilst I do appreciate this concept, and I love Leo Skeppy, love you, Leo. He's definitely listening to this podcast. I do appreciate this as a concept, but I also think, okay, this is because I don't want to sound like everyone has the same 24 hours in a day as Beyonce. You know, like nobody wants to work these days, get your ass up and work. I don't believe that. When you are working towards something, and if you have these big audacious goals and things you're trying to work towards, I think listening to this line of conversation and this line of thinking can be quite debilitating and it can be quite disheartening. And I think you have to know when it's time to be realistic about the things that you want, and you have to know where it's time to be delusional about the things that you want, and only you can know which one of those that you need. When you're going for something and you're like, okay, am I going to be successful at this? Should I try and do this even if I'm not going to be successful? Should I try this? Am I just going to be one of those failures? Sometimes if you do have lots of people relying on you, maybe you have a family, a child, there are lots of reasons why the kind of realistic route that he's talking about is very appropriate. However, there are also times where you can mitigate a level of risk. This line of conversation can, if you are in a position where you probably can afford that level of risk, this line of conversation and this kind of belief system can almost aid and abet the limiting beliefs within you that you actually need to push through, and you actually need to say like, okay, it is scary and maybe I might not succeed because there are people that don't succeed, but there are also people that do. Like right now, for me, I am doing all of this internet thing. I've been doing this like internet-based career, freelancer, self-employment, be your own boss thing for the past few years. I am in a position where I don't have very many responsibilities. I don't have a family. I don't have a partner. I don't have a house. I don't have a lot of things to lose almost if I fuck things up. And if you've done Tim Ferriss's fear setting exercise, and it talks about kind of setting out and laying out the worst case scenario, what is the worst case scenario if I try and do this kind of self-employment thing and I fail? I make no money and let's say my bank account goes to zero. That's kind of like the worst case scenario, isn't it? When you try this thing, you kind of quit your job and do your own thing, and then you go full time doing your own thing. Worst case scenario is you run out of money. Fine. Fear setting then says, okay, what would you have to do to get yourself back to where you are right now? And so for me, the risk, even if I ran completely out of money, what would I have to do? Basically, I'm very lucky. I have a family. I have my parents, both of whom would allow me to come and live with them. I could get a job somewhere else and figure it out. It wouldn't be the end of the world if this failed. And so for me, listening to that mindset of do the reliable thing first, not everybody makes it, that could very easily feed into the fear-based beliefs that I have around, am I going to make it? Like, is there any point in doing this? Is this stupid? You have to decide how much that applies to you and whether you need to be realistic or whether you can be delusional and whether you can afford to be delusional. But I do think the problem with that is we have this kind of warped view of what our situation is. And so it would be very easy to be like, okay, I'm 27. what if I run out of money? I'm back to square one like I was when I was 18 and had no money again. Realistically, in the grand scheme of things, not that big of a deal. I'm very young. I can figure it out. But I think when we're in these situations, sometimes we can look at that and be like, oh my God, I don't want to have no money. I'm 27. I should be being more responsible. I can't be doing this and fucking around and having no idea what I'm doing. I need to get a real job. I need to be more realistic. It's your job to try and take the most objective view and appreciate that, yes, it's true, where there is this big survivorship bias, that we only see the people that succeed online. And we only really hear success stories. And obviously there are a sea of people that don't succeed at things. And that could be you. Like, we could both fit into both of these categories. But you have to look at your situation right now. And this is a crazy concept. You don't have to believe every single thing that you hear on the internet. And so I heard Leo say this. I was listening to this podcast yesterday. This kind of sparked this episode. I was listening to Leo's podcast and he said that. And I was like, no, I don't believe that. Like, I'm not buying into that. You get to decide the things that you believe about your situation. And if you are trying to succeed at something and you're doing something that you want to go well, you want to think the thoughts that are going to be most conducive to allowing that to happen and allowing the things that you want to come to fruition. So if we're talking about making it and you're trying to make it, you get to decide what making it looks like and is measured by. You get to decide what making it is. You get to decide what that looks like. You get to decide where the kind of goalpost is, with the knowledge that, as is the human condition, you are probably never going to be satisfied with the goalpost. No matter where you go, you will always want more, as is the human condition. Like, that's what we're like. Okay, this is funny. So I've written down, it's not the destination, it's the journey, lol. You only win a race for 2 seconds. You only cross the finish line of a marathon for 2 seconds. You've ran 26 miles prior to crossing the finish line. And prior to that, you have trained for 6 months, 12 months. You've ran 4 times a week, you've eaten properly, all of this work that you've put in to get to those 2 seconds. The 2 seconds are nice and it's that relief and it's like, oh, it's that achievement. But what you've really got from winning the marathon is 12 months of training and putting the work in and becoming a different person, developing your mind, developing your body, becoming stronger mentally and physically. And it is the person that you have become that is almost the goal. And so you almost want to have these goals of like what making it is. You want to decide what that is and know kind of, okay, this is what I'm working towards. These are the enormous, audacious goals that I'm working towards, with the knowledge that the person you're becoming along the way is almost the goal in and of itself. Okay, maybe now I'm pursuing this business. Like, I want to have a financially freeing career. I want to be able to travel and take my work with me. I want to love what I do. I want to have a business that is making me enough money that I can do whatever I want without tethers, that like financial freedom thing, right? And so that's the goal. And so if I was like, on paper, have I succeeded at all of those things right now? It's a no, right? But I've been doing this for the past coming up 4 years. And for the past 4 years, I'm having the best time ever figuring this out. I'm waking up, I'm making podcasts, I'm taking photos, I'm making videos, I'm writing, I'm learning skills. But for the past 3 years, because I've been working towards these big goals and these kind of long-term milestones, I have been putting myself in situations, attracting opportunities, doing things that I never even imagined. I'm having the best time figuring it out. I'm having to like become a different version of myself and keep getting better and doing all of these things with the goal of achieving this kind of like business success. And because I'm trying to like make it, a result of the journey in pursuit of that is that I'm having the best time ever. And I'm living this really fun life where I never know what's going to happen, but I'm loving it. And I know that even if I never achieve these like huge milestones, I'm going to be able to look at this time and look at this period of my life and say that I had the best time ever. And so this was never going to be I almost have already made it. Because the idea of the goals isn't to achieve the goals necessarily. It's kind of the things that you get to achieve on the way. Because I don't just want like the 2 seconds of success when I finally, I don't know, make 7 figures and my bank account hits 1 million. Even if that does happen, my day-to-day life is still going to look the same. Maybe I buy a few more things and maybe I have a better haircut. I still get up. I'm still going to have to eat 3 meals a day. I still drink lots of water. I still like the same things. Like I still like yoga and I still like reading my books. All of those things are going to be the same. And so it's more about having the goal to give you something to work towards and then designing a life that you like that is going to allow you to get to that goal. Okay, this is kind of going in a different direction than what I thought, but I think this is really important. And I guess like let's talking about like you decide what making it is then, instead of creating these arbitrary, these kind of somewhat random goals, like on paper goals where we're like, I want to put 5 mil in the bank. I want to have X amount in savings. I want to have 3 kids. I want to become a partner at my law firm. Instead of just setting these random goals that we kind of decide, like, if I get there by the time I'm 30, I've made it. Maybe it's more about like, okay, what type of lifestyle would I be happy to wake up to every single day? And what would I like to do every single day? How would I want to feel? What does my life look like? And then picking a goal that you are going to have to create your dream lifestyle to accomplish. And in that way, it's like you decide what making it is.
The odds of becoming a very important or famous artist are probably small if you run the numbers. But the odds of being able to feed yourself and your family by being a part of the industry of art is a huge, huge industry. And I wish that when I was younger, well, maybe I don't wish because it all was fine, but no one ever said to me like, hey, there's so much to do here. There's so many millions of layers to this work. And you know, maybe you're not going to be whoever I was obsessed with. Maybe you're not going to be Kurt Cobain or whatever.
Eddie Money, exactly. But
you know, but there's a massive trillions and trillions dollar industry that's attached to this, and you could have a life within it.
See, Jack Antonoff is hitting again. Jack Antonoff, king of my life, up there alongside Matty Healy. You decide what making it is. Maybe you really love music and you want to pursue music. Maybe you're not going to be Taylor Swift. Maybe you're not going to be doing your own Eras tour in 10 years. But do you have to have that? And like, yeah, those audacious goals are really cool. And I don't want to be belittling your goals, and I don't want to be kind of promoting setting smaller goals for yourself, because I don't think that's right. But I do think like it's not kind of a binary, you hit this goal or your life is a complete failure. You know, it's like you want to shoot to the moon, and if you don't hit the moon, you'll land upon the stars. Maybe you don't become Taylor Swift, but maybe you can sustain your life in the music industry. Maybe you don't become Rupi Kaur, but maybe you can have a poetry book that can give you enough money to live. Maybe you don't become Alex Cooper or Joe Rogan. Maybe you get thousands of downloads per month and you have a brand sponsorship that allows you to live the type of life that you want. And so if you're worrying about making it and you're up thinking, okay, God, is there any point in doing this? Like, am I ever going to kind of push through this ceiling? Am I ever going to make it? You decide what making it is. And even if it doesn't end up being that goal on paper that you've kind of decided making it means, that doesn't necessarily mean that by pursuing this thing that you can't build the life and actually kind of curate the life that you want from doing it, even if you don't know exactly what that looks like. I think you kind of have to have both of these mindsets. And ever since I kind of realized this, I've been a lot happier with kind of the process versus the striving. Like, you have to have, I think, these enormous delusional, I hate saying delusional because I think it's so overused. Like, when I hear someone say delulu, it makes me want to throw up. Delulu. Ugh, I fucking hate it. I do think you have to have these enormous goals because I think they give you direction. And if there's anything that we know that we need, it is purpose. When we feel like we don't have a direction or something to work towards, or like a goalpost for our lives, things start to feel kind of existential crisisy, and we start to think like, oh God, like that's when you come and start spiraling into the crisis, right? And so I think we do need to have these enormous delusional goals, almost to the point where they're like unattainable. Because I think that gives us the pathway. We know what we're working towards. And as long as you're kind of working towards a direction that's right for you, and that's when you kind of need to know the type of life that you want to live and the type of person you want to become and the things that are important to you, that's when these things come into play. Because if you can pick a goal and you can kind of decide what making it is based on the things that you like, things that you value at this moment in time, knowing that these things can change at any point, don't you worry. As long as we set a goal with ourselves in mind, not just arbitrary goals that we think are going to help us feel like we've made it or that society have deemed as like worthy and making it at 30. As long as you're kind of working towards something that aligns with your values and your desires, then whatever happens, you're kind of going to be closer than you are right now. You need the goals because you need the direction. Even if it's like putting your goal into Google Maps. It's like, okay, take me to London. And then maybe you kind of get in the car and you start driving and maybe you take a few wrong turns. Maybe there's dead ends and you have to go back, like down all of the country lanes. Maybe you get stopped behind a herd of cows and you're sat there for like an hour behind these cows and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm never going to make it to London. What is the point? Maybe I should just go home. Maybe I could just watch videos about London on TikTok instead of going to London because this is just so much of a pain in the ass. You are going to keep winding your way towards London. And even if you do end up not completely getting there, you're going to be closer to London than when you started. As long as you keep trying and keep working towards the life you want to live, you're going to continue to find success in that. It's only when you kind of become resigned to the fact like, oh, everyone's making it apart from me. I can't make it. Not everyone can do this. Not everyone can have a podcast. There's too many people in music. There's too many books. There's too many writers. I really do think whatever you believe influences the outcome more than you know. And so if you do start to believe there's too many people already doing this, what's the point in me doing it? I'm never going to make it. Then I think that will show up for you in your reality, and not because it's like the universe is hearing you and like sending you bad signs and putting blocks in your way because you don't believe in yourself. Like, obviously not. But what happens then is if your thought process is, this can't work for me, there's too many people already doing it. Once you start thinking that, you're going to look for evidence that that is true. If I believed that and I'd listened to Leo Skepi's podcast yesterday and I'd heard him say, not everyone can make it. There is the tip of the iceberg of people that make it and then the sea of people underneath. If I'd have listened to that, I would have said, yeah, that's so true. Oh my God, he's so right. Maybe I should start looking for another job, because he was talking about that. The context in which he was talking about that was saying you should get a uni degree and do the kind of responsible thing first, so that when you try and do these kind of like creative things and go out on your own, you have something to fall back on. And he was talking about having a backup plan. And if I'd have listened to that and what he's saying, I would have started to think, God, he's so right. Like, that's confirmed all of the insecurities I was feeling. Maybe I should go to uni. Maybe I should try and get a regular job and maybe then do these more creative things when I have this kind of solid foundation to fall back on. That's what I would have done. But because I listened to it and I know that this is what I want to work on, and I'm solid in my belief that no matter where this goes, as long as I am working towards a direction of the type of life that I want to live, it doesn't matter where it goes, because I trust that I don't know everything and I don't always know. You can't know what you don't know. And so maybe I think that the best type of life for me is having a podcast and being on the internet and having my own business. Maybe in 2 years, this will take me in a completely different direction and I'll realize, actually, this wasn't the best life for me at all. This is something else and I'm going to move on to something else. And so making it, my idea and version of making it will change. But the only reason I will get to that and the only reason I will figure that out, and I would figure that out, is by continuing along this path. And I know that, and I have so much trust in that you can't not make it because you decide what making it is. You can't not make it because you decide what making it is for your life. And so when I heard that, I was like, no, I don't believe that. Moving on. And that was just it. You decide what making it is for you. You can decide right now, like, okay, maybe everything in your physical reality is not matching up with the life that you want to live. Maybe you want to be earning more money, maybe you want to have a partner, maybe you want to be in love, maybe you want to have like amazing group of friends, and you don't have that. In this moment, you could either be like, I don't have those, so I failed. I don't have a successful podcast, I failed. Okay, or I'm making podcast episodes, and so I have a podcast, and I'm working towards growing the podcast, and that's kind of making it, you know, like that's, for me, that's making it. Maybe for you, maybe your thing is falling in love. Okay, I don't have a boyfriend right now, I'm not in love right now, fine. I could see that as not making it, or I'm working on myself so that when I do meet someone, I'm ready for him. Maybe that's making it. You know, and so it's like you decide if you're making it. Okay, let's do the last question, shall we? Because I feel like I'm rambling. Your homework, your assignment, your journal prompt. I need a name for this segment, so please help me. But until then, this is just going to be the question that you can take away to kind of round up this episode. Okay, we have 3 questions today, and the questions are the following. What am I currently working towards? What is the life that it will allow me to have? How will I know when it's done? What am I working towards? What is the life that it will allow me to have? And how will I know when it's done? Just remember, it is the human condition to never be satisfied. You will never be done. There will always be more. You will never be done. And so if you can appreciate that, understand that, know that you will never fully feel like you've made it no matter what happens. And so focus on the process as the format of making it. Let the process validate you're making it, and know that, to be honest, as long as you're kind of happy and enjoying your life and working towards the things that you like, I think that's kind of it. I think that's kind of making it for everyone.